They said the beasts couldn't be reasoned with. They said their minds were nothing but instinct, rage, and hunger, things even the Dominion's best scientists couldn't rewire. That's why when the call came through the comms that one of the xenobeasts had broken containment, no one expected the human to volunteer. Lieutenant Mira Cade, field medic, Terran Expeditionary Corps. She wasn't built like a soldier, too lean, too quiet, the kind of human whose strength was in her eyes rather than her muscles. But when she heard the panicked shouts from the containment deck, she grabbed her medkit, sealed her suit, and said only one thing. Open the gate. The containment deck stank of metal and blood. Inside the cage, the creature roared. A wall of muscle and scales, 12 feet tall, bound by chains thicker than a man's arm. Its eyes burned with a light not entirely animal. They called it Unit 47, though the soldiers had nicknamed it Breaker. It had killed 6 handlers and 2 Marines already. No one expected the human medic to last 30 seconds. "Medic Cade, stand down," shouted Captain Yoren from behind the blast shield. "That thing doesn't understand mercy." Mira's voice was calm over the intercom. "Then I'll teach it." And she stepped inside. The doors sealed behind her with a hydraulic hiss. The temperature dropped. Breaker's heavy breathing echoed through the chamber like distant thunder. Mira's boots crunched over broken restraints and spattered coolant. Her hands didn't shake, though her heart thundered like a drum in her chest. The creature lunged. In a flash of motion, its clawed arm swept through the air, missing her by inches. Mira froze, staring up at its massive form. Her faceplate reflected its burning amber eyes. She didn't draw her weapon. She didn't even move. "I'm not here to fight you," she said softly. The beast's nostrils flared. It tilted its head, confused. Mira slowly crouched and unlatched her medkit. "You're hurt," she continued. "Let me see," Breaker snarled, a low rumble that shook her bones, but she caught something else beneath it. A whimper, almost too soft to hear. Blood. She saw it now, dark and viscous, seeping from a wound along its ribs, where the soldiers had shot it with plasma rounds when it tried to escape. The creature trembled with rage and pain. "You're bleeding out," Mira said. "If I don't help you, you'll die." The beast's eyes flickered. Uncertainty, fear, something thinking. It growled again, but didn't move when she stepped closer. Minutes passed, like hours. Mira worked quickly, scanning the wound, applying sealant foam, her gloved hands trembling only when she heard the creature's breath brush against her helmet. Its skin was hot, burning like living metal, but its pulse slowed as she worked. She hummed. Softly. An old earth song, one her grandmother used to hum when the storms came. The creature blinked. Then, to the astonishment of everyone watching through the cameras, it lowered its head to the ground. The deck crew stared in stunned silence. Captain Yoren whispered, "By the stars." Mira finished her work, then sat down beside it. The medic and the monster, side by side in silence. She reached out slowly and touched its claw. "You're not a weapon," she said. "Not to me." The beast let out a long, trembling exhale. In the weeks that followed, the entire Dominion fleet whispered about the human who tamed a beast. But Mira didn't call it that. She called it understanding. Breaker, no, Rune, as it later allowed her to call it, began to respond to her voice. Where before it had torn apart every handler who entered its enclosure, it now waited patiently when Mira came in. She fed it, spoke to it, taught it words, and it listened. At first the officers thought she was insane. A xenobeast wasn't a pet. It was a biological war engine bred to destroy enemy lines. But Mira didn't care. Every time they ordered her to stop, she simply said, "If you want to win this war, try saving something for once." And so they let her continue. Rune learned quickly. It began to imitate sounds, then words, then gestures. Its memory was extraordinary. One day Mira entered the cage to find it trying to fix a damaged power conduit using a piece of metal and its claws. She laughed for the first time in months. "You're learning, huh?" Rune rumbled in reply. "Learn, like Mira." The sound was rough, broken, but it spoke her name. Mira almost cried. Then came the attack. A Dominion rival faction ambushed their research vessel near the Andaran Rift. Plasma fire tore through the hull. Breaches opened across the lower decks. The beast cages were hit first. Alarms blared. The crew scattered, and in the chaos, Captain Yoren gave a single desperate order. "Vent the containment level before the beasts escape." Mira heard the command too late. She was already on her way to Rune's cage. She reached it just as the doors began to seal for venting. "Override!" she shouted, slamming her access card into the console. The system hesitated, then accepted. The doors opened, and smoke flooded the corridor. Inside, Rune was pinned under debris, roaring in agony. Mira didn't think. She sprinted forward, cutting through metal shards, her suit alarms screaming from radiation exposure. She wedged her shoulder against a steel beam, pushing with everything she had. "Come on, move, damn you!" Rune's claws reached up to help her. Together they lifted it, metal shrieking, smoke rising, and the beast rolled free. But the pressure alarm screamed louder. The hull breach was seconds away. "Go!" Mira shouted. "You have to get out!" Rune's eyes met hers. It shook its massive head. "No." "Mira, go." She smiled weakly. "We go together." The floor gave way beneath them as the deck tore apart. Mira grabbed onto a conduit. Rune caught her arm, its claws carefully wrapping around her waist. The venting system roared to life, pulling everything toward the void. Rune roared back, wings snapping open against the gale. With one final burst of strength it leapt, crashing through a maintenance shaft, shielding Mira with its body as the vacuum howled behind them. They landed in the emergency bay, both bleeding, both alive. When the battle ended, the Dominion recovered only 2 survivors from the containment decks, one human medic and one xenobeast, both wrapped around each other like old friends. The officers didn't know what to do. The human had defied orders. The beast had saved her life. Captain Yoren could only stare as Mira walked beside Rune through the wreckage, her hand resting lightly on its forearm. "You're walking it?" he asked, disbelief in his voice. She smiled. "No, Captain. We're walking together." From that day, Rune was no longer listed as Unit 47. It was declared sentient under Dominion Code. Mira and Rune became ambassadors of a new alliance, proof that empathy could bridge the space between species. And whenever someone asked how she had done it, Mira would just laugh softly and say, "I didn't tame a beast. I listened to a person no one else would." Years later, in the halls of the United Systems Academy, there hung a portrait, a human medic in worn armor standing beside a towering alien with amber eyes. The plaque beneath it read, "She entered the beast cage and walked out with friends." And every cadet who passed by that plaque learned the same lesson, that sometimes the bravest act in war isn't killing the enemy, it's reaching out a hand.